Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of the No Nay Never podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Bromley, and we are here to review a very uneventful 0-0 draw with Leeds at Turf Moor on Monday night. Wasn't a game for the purists, we've got to say. It wasn't full of entertainment value, but I'm joined by regular panellist and FPL expert Adam Dennett, and we're going to see if there are any talking points on what this performance means for the rest of the season for the mighty Clarets. So, listeners, buckle up. Let's go. Mr. Adam Dennett, how are we, sir?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I think it must be at least 3-0 since I've last been on. So
feels like about 3.
I'm ready and raring to talk about another one.
It feels about 300 0-0. Somebody in one of the chat groups, I think it was an FPL group that I'm in. You see, I do, Adam. We'll talk about this at the end of it. I do contribute to the FPL community.
Come on, leaps and bounds.
I know, you should be so proud of me. Somebody was a Leeds fan in there, and a couple of people were talking about it. I think one of my friends just posted like a snapshot from a stat site of Burnley's last 6 home games. It was like 0-0, 0-0, and then there was like the 2-1 Watford result in the middle of it, and then 0-0. It was like, this doesn't look fun. I'm like, just not the right time, sir, to be asking me this. Well, we'll catch up with you in a minute and we'll talk about sort of wider things, but let's dive straight into last night. Is there anything to talk about? Because not only was it a 0-0, it was not an entertaining 0-0, my friend. Where do we start with that one?
Well, in the first shot on target for either side's in the 88th, 89th minute. I don't think it's ever going to be a bumper analysis show, is it? But it just completely cancelled each other out. I think before the game in the preview show, you said it's either going to be really cautious approach with both sides, or if one side, which was always maybe going to be Leeds, lets the handbrake off, then we might get a really good game out of it. Because we have tended to do okay in the games against the bigger sides and look a bit of a threat. Obviously away at Sheffield United being the main one of those, but it just didn't happen. I don't think the conditions helped, but we just showed a complete lack of ambition to even try and have a shot, never mind score a goal. So as much, I wouldn't say it's probably the most frustrated I've been or irritated I've been while watching a game, because I think the magnitude of the game kind of carried you through it anyway. You feel engaged in it, whereas some of the home games, like against Derby, Stoke, QPR, Preston, it's been dire, and you're urging them to really kick on and take these teams apart, because we should have enough to do so. But last night you could see the quality of Leeds. I think they obviously really sharp on the ball, got really dangerous players, and we limited them as an attacking threat, highest scorers in the league, to barely anything as well. So we've talked. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, sorry. I just want to pick up on that bit, because I was disappointed with Leeds, and I think we talk a lot about, and obviously it's our job to talk about Burnley's, preparation for and involvement in the game and what they brought to the occasion. But given that we aren't mid-table, we're not struggling. We could have, with a 4-0 goal swing, could have gone top of the table yesterday. I don't quite know whether or not they just didn't need to do anything, so they were waiting for us to be proactive. But I was really surprised by the lack of intent for them, because they win that game last night. That's it. That's the breakaway that they've been threatening for weeks now and never quite capitalised on. And that's the title for them probably done. Like, they're off because we're just not going to catch them. I was disappointed from that respect that they didn't do more.
Yeah, we didn't see much from the players that they mentioned on the preview with that have been on such fine form. Mano Solomon barely had a touch for the first 80 minutes, and Dan James got a bit of space and whipped a couple of crosses in, but other than that, didn't really do anything. Hit a shot wide in the first half when he should have maybe done better. I think they felt the occasion a bit, and Farke said at the end that he was happy with the point and didn't seem overly well. We were really pleased. We're coming away from Turf Moor with a point as well. So
better point.
It is a shame, and I think it sums up probably both managers as well, that they are probably overly cautious with the squads they've got.
Yeah.
And probably protecting the positions rather than taking the risk and protecting the unbeaten runs. And we're all just from an entertainment perspective, it's not good for anyone, is it?
Results over entertainment, it's terrible. And it just, I don't think anybody got anything out of that game last night. And I was talking on one of the previous shows this week about the art form that Burnley's defence is this season, and it really is an unbelievable joy to watch. Even in the games where we don't offer anything, it's mesmerising sometimes watching them, and it feels like a different kind of defensive display than the Dyche years did. It feels classier somehow. It doesn't feel quite as dogged and throw your head behind. It's not always completely 10 men behind the ball. It does feel a little bit more modern. But even last night, I couldn't find much joy in that. But I think coming on to the point you made there about two managers just being far too cautious and maybe the occasion getting the better of everybody. One of my biggest bugbears this season about Parker, who I love, I think is great. This is one for you, Tom Whittaker. I think he's a fantastic human being. There you go. Bit of an Easter egg in there, bit of an in-joke with none and ever. Sorry, listeners, we've become that team. I'm frustrated by a perceived lack of ambition and a lack of aggression in games. Adam, why are we not dictating the way that the league goes? Why are we the ones that are hanging back and hoping that we can stay close to Sheffield United and Leeds and try and capitalise on a mistake they've made? Why have we not blinked first and got into second gear and started running? Last night was a free hit for me. The result Saturday for Sheffield United, it doesn't matter whether we go up first or second. We could have gone for it last night because we win. We joint top, we leapfrog Sheffield United, we joint top, and what a statement that is. If it doesn't work and we get beat, so what? Leeds go off, they're probably going to win the league anyway, and we don't lose any ground on Sheffield United, and it becomes a shootout for me for the second spot. Like, why can we not? Where's that fight and aggression and ambition gone and real competitiveness gone that we had under the company years? Well, the Championship at least.
Yeah. You see, I think that we did. I know Plymouth were terrible, but we went to Plymouth, and you think that what they might do is match us for intensity and wanting it more. And we went there and we bullied them, and we were miles better than them. I think in the big games at home to Sunderland and Leeds, where I think that's the first time that I've watched us in both games. It's probably credit to both teams and why they are up there. But it's not felt completely under control, which I don't. Obviously, they both ended 0-0, so it's not resulting in more goals. But we've kind of just had the handbrake on in all the other games. It's like we have. They can't hurt us. We'll try and hurt them, but not too hard as to risk anything. In the Sunderland and Leeds games, I think that we've lost the midfield battle, and that's then could resulted in us losing that control. Last night, I thought Tanaka for them was really good, number 22, in holding midfield. And I think us playing Lauren and Cullen deeper really didn't suit Lauren's game at all. He were plodding about, he couldn't drive forward, and he were a sitting duck a lot of the time. And as well as we were solid, he just had no impact on the game whatsoever. Browner were just floating around up the pitch, not really affecting or putting much pressure on them with the press. It just didn't work, that midfield three against Aronson, Tanaka and Gruev. I thought it was still a tight game. They didn't do much, but I thought they won that battle in there. And similar against Sunderland, I thought O'Neill and Bellingham came out on top in that battle, and that's why Sunderland should have probably beat us. But I think that tactically we could probably work on that. But one thing I wanted to say as well was in the last 11 games we've played Borough twice, Sheffield United, Sunderland, Leeds, Watford, Rovers. We've got 21 points from 11 games, and we're unbeaten. Won 5, drew 6. and the only real disappointment in that are Stoke and Derby. There is a reaction to last night because no shots on target at home against
again
a promotion rival, where their keeper has made howlers all season, and we've not tested him once, is criminal. And I can understand the reaction. And obviously the Derby Stoke home games aren't great, but the test really now for me is we play our next 7 games. We've got 6 teams in the bottom half. We need to go on a run of wins. We've been winning, drawing. We need a run of wins.
Yeah.
And it's the Plymouth game gives you a bit of hope, but that looks like more like an anomaly than what is going to happen. But if we're serious about automatic promotion, we need to be beating the Portsmouths, the Oxfords, Prestons. It's really critical these next few weeks. And I think Sheffield United and Sunderland have got tougher games. They both play Leeds. I think Sheffield United are on the back of a poor performance at Swansea, where they were lucky to win and then getting hammered at home to Hull. They're not going to be in a good place. Sunderland have been a bit shaky. Obviously, the draw at the weekend against Plymouth, which we can't really judge them for since we've drawn at home against so many of the bottom sides. But I think it's really ours. It's ours to take now in the next few weeks.
That's very true. Yeah, I think they displayed that. One of the Leeds people I'm connected with did send me a message saying that was the most interesting part of the game from him when they brought the graphic up on Sky to show our next 6 or 7 games each, and everybody went, "Oh gosh, they've got some good fixtures," whereas Leeds have got the opposite ones. They've got the tough run now. But yeah, to me now, I've justified this cautious approach and this handbrake approach for quite some time now, on the grounds that, well, the Championship's a slow burner. It doesn't really get going until February, March time, and there's always a last surge at the end of it, and somebody ends up in the playoffs who was nowhere near it, and unless there's a runaway, blah, blah, blah. We are at that time now. Like, the time now, if we are serious about promotion, isn't to keep the handbrake on and play cautious football. We have to do something different. And, you know, whilst I understand that as fans, we've been asked to sacrifice entertainment for results this year, that's a time-limited benefit to the club. It only lasts this season. And if we put up with that all the season and we don't go up, what was the point? And for me, if we even as well, I think they only get credit for doing this for me if we finish second or first. If we finish in the playoffs and we don't go up, all of this wasn't for nothing. We might as well have not. We might as well have just gone for it and finished 7th or 8th. Like it seems to be like there's no reward to the risk that we're doing here. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, and I just want to say as well, I think the Championship this year is really a great opportunity to go back up.
We have to go up this year. Next year will be horrible. Yeah,
with the likes of, even though Southampton have been terrible, Leicester haven't been great either, and Ipswich, them 3 coming down are going to be stronger than anything we're up against, or if Wolves fall into it. But even if the 3 come back down, it's going to be more difficult next year. On probably, you could assume, a tighter budget as well. So we need to make the most of this. And
our defenders will lose. Yeah, we'll probably lose the whole Trinity of the back 3, the triangle and the 3, which we'll come on to in a second. But yeah, the Championship's alternating. Last season was really tough. Leeds didn't even go up last season. They got in the playoffs. Don't forget, Southampton beating them in the playoffs, and Southampton were largely all right last season, but they weren't better than Leeds. Leeds were the better team. We were all right last year. The season before it, when we won, we were exceptional that season, but it was a bad Championship again. So it's alternating at the moment in conjunction with who's going up and who's going down. If we miss out this season, we're in trouble. So I just want to be able to press on people that take the handbrake off, go for it. Who particularly, even though it was a very dull affair, there were some shining performances from the Claret side. You're not allowed to pick either of our 2 centre-backs for this, because they're just in their own league right now, and they're just a joy to behold. Who else, apart from those 2, impressed you last night, and why?
I think other than them 2, I think Cullen was probably the standout. He were doing a lot of the scrapping in midfield. Obviously, we didn't offer much going forward, so him breaking up the play when they were trying to attack us every now and again was just. It's been great, because I thought he had a quiet start to the season, and he's back to he's been back to his best the last 2 or 3 months now. and I think we're a lot. Well, he's been a mainstay, but without Cullen, I think we'd struggle in there. But yeah, sorry, I've got to admit, Esteve were outstanding again last night. He were
come on to him a second. Okay. I was particularly impressed with Jayden Anthony last night, not because of his going forward. I thought his defensive work last night was really good. There were a couple of times he managed to track back the full length of the pitch to try and provide cover. I don't think I'd really picked up on this in his armoury before, but he's got a really acute, for a forward attacking player, he's got a really acute awareness of when he's needed in defence and when he needs to provide cover. And he's very proactive in dealing with that. I thought he was really good last night.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Defensively, the two wings could not have been more different. I thought Foster really struggled from a defensive. He's probably not used. Obviously, he's not a winger first off, but then having the foot, because they had Tanaka in like the defensive pivot. They had Bogle, Bogle in particular, Bogle and Byron pushed up anytime they got the ball, and Foster just didn't know what to do. He would lose it just a split second. He'd switch off, ball watch, Bogle were gone. And time again in the first half, they were beyond us and overloading the right hand side. And Foster, he didn't know how to deal with it, and you could tell no matter what the teammates were trying to help him, and they just couldn't. I would have probably brought Hannibal on at half time. Obviously, we only came on later on, and Foster probably did get a bit better second half. They didn't threaten, nor neither team threatened in the second half at all. But it were worried the contrast between the wings, and I agree. Anthony defensively did his job very well.
Yeah, I completely agree. So go on then. I yield the floor. You may have the Maxim Esteve, and please do include CJ in that as well. Go ahead. Let's talk us through it.
Oh, I don't know if there's anything more to say that hasn't been said, but any time, like we're so solid and don't look like really conceding goals anyway. But any time that there is a slight panic, he just appears out of nowhere. He reads the game so well. And I'm talking about Esteve last night. I thought they'd both been outstanding, but last night in particular, there were a couple of times I thought, oh, they're in here, and he'd just sweep up again. You're just never in any danger. He's been, a revelation this season. I didn't think we'd maybe be able to keep hold of him in the summer, but I'm so glad that we did. And Egan Riley alongside him, I think Rich said earlier in the group that you can't really tell how good he is because of how good the system's working around him, but he has got better and better and better as the season's gone on.
Ball control is the ball at his feet is so good.
The diagonals, he loves the diagonal.
He does. He just love that. But it's just his ability just to just dance around forward players and really take those players on is particularly impressive.
He's always in control of the situation. You get the feeling anyway.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. There's probably nothing else to talk about from a match perspective. So just sum us up then. What do Burnley need to do to be able to take these reins off and start charging towards automatic? What's next for you, please?
I think away from home, you don't really make any changes. If you go into the weekend at Portsmouth, you're probably unchanged. I don't think you change much at all. No. But in the home games, we don't need the defensive midfielders playing the role that they are. Whether those were tactical switches for the big teams, but obviously we've struggled in the games against the lower sides at home as well. There's been real minimal talk around transfers in the last week or so. Obviously, we had the whole Morgan Whittaker fiasco, but I was hoping that we'd be adding into the wide areas so that we've not got Foster playing out of position on the wing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Koleosho's obviously not really involved at the moment. I wouldn't have minded him coming into the fray last night as a substitute. Sarmiento came on and barely touch the ball.
He didn't add anything, did it? Well, I thought that was a bad substitution at the time. It didn't feel right for me. But then at the same time, we needed to get Foster off the pitch, and I didn't really know what else to do. What do you think that Koleosho would have made a better impact? Because his form was awful.
I'm just thinking in the two games against Leeds, the only time we've threatened is when Koleosho picked the ball up 70 yards out and sprinted away from him after the slip and scored. So even though he's been off form, when they were attacking late on, at least we've got a threat on the break. We didn't have any threat to get in behind them. We just didn't seem to have a way to hurt them last night. And at least as much as he's been off it, I wouldn't mind him taking a few more risks like that. I think going forward, Fleming didn't really impress last night as a number 9. Again, away from home, he's banging them in, 8 goals. No goals at home. Do you play a striker and play Fleming in behind? I'm not saying Barnes and Rodriguez are the long-term solution, but do you, if you bring a winger in, can Foster play up front and you play Fleming in behind him? Play him where we bought him to play is what I'd probably like to see. And just to maybe trying something different against those sides. But do you think we need anyone attacking-wise in the next few days? Or do you think there will? I've heard nothing, so it's just.
Yes, but I think it might have been Rich who said this in our it might have been Tom. This feels more like a Tom Whittaker comment than Rich, to be honest. Like, is there any point if Parker's not going to change the way he plays or going to play them? We've got striking options. I think for me, one of the biggest problems is the supply, not necessarily. Like if you kind of look at the chances we create, we're a little bit more clinical than maybe we're getting credit for. We don't create endless amounts of chances and score them. We don't create very many chances at all, but from the ones that we do create, we tend to score a decent percentage of them. There's just no supply. I'm a massive fan of Jadon Anthony. I think he's come on really well this season, but my goodness, his end ball is abysmal. It never fails to amaze me that he can do some incredible build-up play, dance around 10 men and then just not get the ball past the first defender. It's, his build-up play is really bad. And then on top of that, the manager's style does not permit exciting attacking play. So you kind of look at that and go, well, do we waste money on players, on wingers, on an attacking threat here? Because Parker's not going to change his play. We don't play with overlapping fullbacks. That's just not something that Scott Parker ever does. So you've got 2 wingmen who are basically trying to find something from the halfway line. Neither of them can put, like, Foster's been all right on the left wing. I think it's an improvement from him playing up front. It's pretty clear that man is not an out-and-out striker. That's pretty clear to everybody. He's not going to score 20 goals a season. So it's been in some games, it's been good to have him out there. But his ball-in isn't poor as well. You're relying on Humphreys on that side to try and put a ball in, and Connor Roberts on the right. So weirdly, our fullbacks are better at putting the balls in than the wingers are, but they're limited to not going past the halfway line because of Parker's inability to press it. So yes, on paper it looks like it's a side that's crying out for some creativity, but I'm not entirely sure that the personnel is the problem.
No, that's fair enough. It'd be nice to have a Scott Twine banging a free kick in every week, wouldn't it?
That was a mistake. I'm going to say this now. Selling him was a mistake. I don't know why that happened. We didn't make enough money on him for it to need to be a monetary problem, and he would have been a fantastic option to bring on the bench. I do not know why we sold him. I don't get that. For me, that was an error. I think many errors were made in the summer transfer window, but that was a particularly bad one for me. I think that one and Zarori and Twine, I think would have been way, way, way better options than the ones that we've got now for a long way. So, okay, let's wrap it up then. I'll have a quick chat with you before we go. Who do we make automatic?
Yes.
Excellent. I like that. Decisive. second, I presume, not the title.
Yeah, I think Leeds will win it. I think Leeds will win it. The best options off the bench as well.
Yeah, I don't, and this, please don't let this come back to haunt me, but I'm not a fan of Chris Wilder. It doesn't strike me as a tactical genius to be able to manipulate this. I think they'll make mistakes. I think they're making real mistakes. We were talking about this on the turf last night. They're making real mistakes in their recruitment policy. They're buying too many players. He's now going to start tinkering. He's going to be upsetting the dressing room. It's going to take him 4 or 5 games that he can't afford to now work out who his best starting lineup is because of all the players that he's bought. And I think that's a mistake. I think your January transfer window cannot be making wholesale changes. It just can't. So yeah, I think that will work in our favour. How's your FPL season going before we let you go?
Not very well. That's probably why you've not heard from me very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be putting something out in the next week or so because this is crazy season now, and they've thrown a new chip in there with the assistant manager chip, so there'll be
I would
loads
like
of
you
different
to
ways
cover
to play
that.
it.
Yeah, please cover that, because I listen. I haven't played. The only chip that I've played so far this season is the free hit that we got that expired at Christmas.
The first wild card.
First wild card, that's it, not the free hit, the wild card. Because the team that I put together at the beginning was so bad, so bad, that I was just like, we're gonna have to start all over again here. This is terrible. And actually, since I used that one, it's been really, really well. I've not used any of the other magic beans at all. I keep forgetting that they're there. And now they've brought a new one in, and I don't get it. I don't understand what it is. So please cover that.
We'll have a chat about the magic beans and the green arrows in the next week or so.
We miss you. We miss the green arrows. Yeah, we used to say that on the previous show. We do miss it. Green arrows to all of you. But yeah, that would be good. It's been a very weird season. I'm quite happy with my. I've got in the 70s for the past few weeks in terms of results. I've managed to get some good players in there. I managed to sort my defence out this week, where I managed to get Trent in for the first time this season as a defender, which I was very pleased with. But I did spend Friday night quite tragically in captain hell this week for game week 23, was it, that we've just finished?
And I gave you some bad advice.
You gave me terrible advice. But you know what? I think in the end it was probably only worth 3 extra points, maybe, wasn't it, to do it?
There are a few. We'll say 3.
We'll see. Yeah, maybe it was more. So yeah, because I had in my team, last week I had Salah, Isaac, Wood, and Foden all in the same team, and I was like, so I discounted Wood and Foden on the basis that they had more marginal games. I had Chelsea and Brentford. And as it turned out, that was a good result. But yeah, the Salah and Isaac won, and I ended up going with Salah because I let peer pressure come to me, Adam. Everybody was mocking me and saying it's the easiest decision you'll make all season. Why are you even thinking about it? And I had a thing. I said to it, I was like, it's going to be Isaac. It should be Isaac. No, I was too scared.
It's just nice not having to back against Burnley's terrible defence last season, and hopefully next year we'll be filling our FPL teams with Burnley defenders.
Hurrah! Yeah, Maximus Dev. If we go up and we keep him, he's going to be worth some money. He won't be a £4.5 million. I don't think next year. I think he'll be 5.6, 5.7. I'm going to put it out.
There we go.
See, I've been doing my homework. Well, Adam, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. It always is. Please come on more often. We miss you. I know you've got domestic challenges with a house full of kids. But yeah, we do miss you. We do love having you on. Do us some FPL content, please. We need an update on how the FPL monthly league's going. We've not done a manager of the month forever. I've got a whole raft of stickers here that I've not given out. Man, come on.
I'll do some social media posts to get them.
Holiday is over. Holiday is over. Get back to work, please. We need you. Yes,
get back to work for a rest. Yeah.
Yes, do. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks, Adam.
Yeah, cheers.
You're welcome. Listeners, that is all we have time for this. And I'll show just a very quick overview of that incredibly dull game at home to Leeds. I'm sorry we didn't have anything more exciting to talk about, but you can blame Scott Parker for that. Dave will be back with another. I'm away for the rest of this week now. So Dave will be back before the weekend with a preview show ahead of this weekend's trip to Portsmouth. And we'll be back next week with your regular analysis show, which hopefully will see Burnley back to scoring 5 goals again in a game. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you leave. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment as well. And those of you who are listening via our podcast channels, you should also have a subscribe button. Turn on notifications, automatic downloads, so you don't miss an episode of your favourite podcast. I've been Natalie Bromley. This has been the None and Never podcast. Until next time. The None and Never podcast is brought to you in association with the talkSPORT Fan Network. Our host and editor is Natalie Bromley, and the show is produced by Matt Moss. Our resident statistician is Dave Roberts, and our FPL expert is Adam Dennett. The analysis show team is collectively Tom Whittaker, Rich Steele, George Poole, Charlotte Rigby, and Adam Dennett. Our music is provided by George Gaskell, and our newsletter team is headed up by Jamie Smith. If you don't already, you can subscribe to our newsletter by visiting nonanever.substack.com. Thanks as ever go to our partners talkSPORT. We are proud to be associated with the talkSPORT Fan Network.